Sidney Crosby was named, and try to act surprised when you hear this, the most complete player in the NHL for the 6th consecutive season in a vote of none other than the players themselves, meaning all of them, meaning an NHL Players Association poll. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Sid was given credit for, among other things, being so committed to two-way hockey, smartest guy on the rink, and all kinds of other praise, all of which is deserved, and none of which he wanted anything to do with. After practice yesterday in Cranberry, he initially brought up being minus 20 or whatever it is that he is, and of course taking full responsibility for that when it would take only a casual observer to understand that he hasn't been responsible for any meaningful percentage of the goals against. And he also brought up the Penguins missing the playoffs for a third consecutive season. And it was this part that I found particularly compelling.
Yeah, I think it's a challenge when you're losing, and it's not just losses. It's it's the what happens when you lose. I mean, there's a trickle down effect. It's obviously a competitive business, and just the movement, and just there's a lot of things not to like about losing. Obviously, you put a lot of work into trying to win games, but I think it's the trickle down and how things add up that come with it that makes it tough too.
The movement that he referred to within that quote is about player movement. It's about Jake Gensel movement. It's about seeing guys go who could help right now, just generally speaking, whether that's someone who's really close with him like a Jake, or even someone like a Lars Eller or Marcus Pettersson. It's not something he's had to deal with in his career or even before he turned pro. Why? Because he always won. He's the serial winner. It's all he's known at any level, including internationally. And I don't know about you, but I have found every available glimpse into his thinking through any sustained losing that he's ever done to be fascinating. Because, look, he's put on a good face. And I respect that, because I'm sure it would be easier in some ways to not do that, to just, look like you're perpetually unhappy because you are the big winner and this is all so terrible and whatever. And he hasn't done that. He's been available, visible. He showed up for the Pat McAfee thing last week and threw the football into the big circle or whatever that was, stood out there and got all that love from the crowd. And there's no way, him, there's no way he's not standing on that stage thinking, why are they even doing this? And we haven't made the playoffs in 3 years. We're about to be done playing here in this arena in a week. Why are they cheering for me? But that hasn't been his approach at all. He's continued to have fun. You can see him smiling both on and off the ice. And more relevant than any of that, you see him still focused on winning whatever game happens to be in front of him. I can promise you this, not that the Penguins are going to beat the Capitals tomorrow night in their regular season finale at PPG Paints Arena, but he will be out of his mind. Take that one right now to the bank. He knows there's going to be something related to Alexander Ovechkin breaking Wayne Gretzky's goals record. He knows that's it for the season, and all that follows is a summer of not hockey. Unless he goes to play in a Worlds, and I really hope he doesn't. Separate subject for a separate day. And he knows he's going to be in front of a lot of those same fans. He's going to be in front of a house full of Pittsburghers. And you can easily get the sense from that sound that I played there for you that he's, it's a word I'm looking for here, because I always want to be careful when it's about Sid, just because if you say anything negative, there's a great chance that you're wrong. It's like he's embarrassed a little bit, or maybe he's embarrassed a lot. Either one, I think, would be to his credit as opposed to something to criticize him over. He doesn't like this at all. He's not okay with it at all. The best thing that you can say about him in this context is that somehow, some way, he's been able to process and apparently appreciate what this Kyle Dubas plan is and why it's necessary. He'd still want to get into the playoffs all 3 of those years, but he can at least accept that you're not going to sell your souls year after year after year to keep doing that or to keep trying to do that. So what he's done instead, and you can see this, you could see it yourself just watching these games, is he's taken Rutger McGroarty, Ville Koivunen, and others under his wing. He's not only talking about what it takes to play in the NHL, he's showing it. He's not only talking about what it means to be part of the Pittsburgh Penguins, he's showing it. He doesn't want those kids to see the Penguins as losers, which is also very understandable, natural reaction, and not the first time I've seen that myself in sports, I should add. Really neat stuff. Could talk about this subject a long, long time. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from Laura, and she is calling me out here. I love this one. She says, DK, have you given up on Jack St. Ivany? You don't mention him when speaking of Wilkes-Barre Scranton's defenseman. I know he had a pretty rough start this season in Pittsburgh, but post-injury, he seems to be playing better in the AHL. I really liked his game at the end of last season, and I'm hopeful he can get back to that. He's still young. Laura, okay, to an extent here, out of sight, out of mind, all right? When I see somebody with my own eyes, I'm reminded of them constantly, and I'll do just a reflexive analysis of them. And yes, I really liked what I saw of St. Ivany late last season, just as much as I didn't like what I saw from him this season, beginning in training camp. That was where I really got unsettled, because that felt to me like watching him and wondering if I had all the other stuff wrong or if he had just gotten into a good spell. The other thing that worried me here was, you say he's still young, but he's in his mid-20s. That's a little old for prospect dumb. And they tell you that you are what you are at a certain age in any sport. Defensemen in the NHL get more leeway in that regard than any other position, because it's almost universally seen as the one where you absolutely have to have time and to get it right. And the minors, okay, awesome. So he goes down there and he gets hurt, and it's a long-term injury. So no, that's my answer to you. No, I have not given up on him. Yes, if he were to come into camp and compete the way he did previously, and I'm talking now a couple of camps ago, given that he'd done it once before, and given that he'd been in the NHL and looked like an efficient defenseman with an actual ceiling over his head for someone in his mid-20s, he'll have earned being taken seriously. I guess, and this is probably why you're asking, is a couple of times this week on this program, I have referred to the system as having really only two sure things on the way defensively, one of those being Owen Pickering, a first-rounder who's already been here, played well for a bit, and Harrison Brunick, who I think the world of, and more than St. Ivany, in large part because Brunick was doing it at age 18, the camp that he just had. Now, if you ask me in a different kind of way, what's an optimal scenario for me in terms of redoing or blowing up even this defense, and I lay that out in a scenario where I keep it real or try to, maybe I can presume that Kyle Dubas will figure out some kind of way to coax Erik Karlsson or some other team or multiple parties to arrange something involving Karlsson. I'm not expecting that. I'm not expecting anything of the kind regarding Chris Letang. So your right-handed defense core is those two guys, Connor Timmins, Brunick. You see where I'm going here? That's another reason I'm kind of skeptical. Not that St. Ivany couldn't emerge as somebody who's more valuable, even just in the future sense, but that's a tough hill to climb in the moment. Now, if he could teach himself to play left-handed, totally different conversation. I appreciate the question, Laura. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. We'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.